When I tell you that during the reading process of this, I have never read a book in my 30 years of life that has had my jaw on the floor this many times. 4.5 separate times my jaw just fell off my face and onto the floor. What the absolute frick did I just read? Hi, my name's Rachel and today we're talking about Fish Swimming in Dappled Sunlight by Riku Onda. I was asked to read this by my patron Shoko. You all have Shoko to thank for what I'm about to tell you. I cracked this book open and didn't look at the synopsis first. I decided to go in raw. One could call it unprepared. Though I'm not sure anything could have prepared me. I begin it, I crack this sucker open and I think, oh, how interesting. A story about a couple who have decided to split up and go their separate ways. And they have to pack up and they have one final night in their apartment together before they separate. Wrong! Very wrong! Not what's happening. Sort of what's happening, but not the full story. At no point in the process of reading this could I have guessed the trajectory that this was gonna take. You know how when you're running away from an alligator, they teach you this if you grow up in Florida like I did. You're running from an alligator, you're supposed to do the zigzag method to try to get the alligator off your tail because alligators apparently can't run in a zigzag. That's sort of what this book did to me. Except I was the alligator and it was zigzagging away from me in a way that I could not keep up with. What? The trajectory is like, oh, okay, story about a couple splitting up. Zigzag. Suddenly the first chapter ends and I'm like, wait, what dead guy? What do you mean a dead guy? What? And then you get a little further and you're like, pardon? What knife? I don't remember a knife. What knife? What knife? And then you get a little further and you're like, I'm sorry, who is whose sister? It doesn't end there. You get a little further and you're like, wait, whose body are they burying? Were they burying? Did they bury? What happened? And then you get a little further and you're like, I'm sorry, that guy is the father of whom? Which brings me to another question. Who's your daddy? Doesn't have to be your actual father. But are you looking to buy a Father's Day gift this year? Because Ridge is making gift giving easier than ever this year with their Father's Day 2024 sale. Not just for fathers, for any daddy in your life. Father's Day sale from Ridge gives you huge discounts, up to 40% off of some of your favorite products across the website. Perfect time to give dad or daddy or your brother or your spouse or even yourself a gift that will last. As you have likely heard me say several times before, I've been using Ridge wallets quite a bit, and I've been using them now over the past year, and then turned my husband and my brother and my stepdad and a bunch of my husband's coworkers into Ridge wallet and key case carriers, like a small army of my own making. Ridge has redefined everyday carry essentials. The Ridge key case easily fits into your pockets to help ensure your keys are always on you without being a bulky distraction. And Ridge does not just make wallets and key cases. They also have luggage, and since I acquired this beautiful piece of luggage and the matching backpack, those things have now been in 3 different states. I took it with me to DC and Virginia just last month, and Carlos stole it from me and took it to Las Vegas with him. I walked around DC for 7 miles with both those pieces, by the way, and yes, they absolutely held up. Oh, and I swear to God, the guy in front of me at airport security, hand to God, had a Ridge wallet. I was like, twin! And he probably had one because Ridge wallet expands to hold up to 12 cards plus room for cash while remaining as slim as possible, and they have 30 plus colors and styles. If you have more than one Ridge wallet, you can even swap out the outer plates to give yourself a one-of-a-kind look. Carlos used to have these silver screws on his, but he switched out my black ones and his silver ones, and now he has the black screws on his purple one, and I'm not gonna lie, it looks so good. But this new blue one is my new absolute favorite, and I got the matching hat. But they now have the most handy thing I have ever seen. Their MagSafe compatible wallets have a plate that just sticks to your phone, and whenever you need to carry both your phone and wallet at once, bang, that sucker just connects magnetically right on there. Carry all your essentials at once, as slim as possible. AirTag attachments are also available on every relevant product, so you'll never lose your essentials again. Ridge wallets are designed with RFID blocking materials that protect you from digital pickpocketers. Ridge has a lifetime warranty and a 365-day risk-free trial, so you can send it back for a full refund if you don't love it. Take it from me, the guy at airport security, and my entire family. We think you'll love it. You can shop the Father's Day sale for your father or the daddy in your life and get up to 40% off by going to ridge.com/readswithrachel or by clicking that link in the description box below and typing in code readswithrachel. So click the link below to grab your new gear, and thank you so much to Ridge for sponsoring today's video. If you don't have a daddy, I'll be your daddy. I don't have one anymore either. He's not dead, he's just dead to me. The only daddy in my life is Carlos, and that's because because he fathered my children. Oh man, he's gonna hate me for making that joke. Alright, back to this absolutely bonkers book. This is classified as a psychological thriller. It is a translated work. It was originally written in Japanese, and it is May, which is AAPI month, so this is a perfect time to read this if you are participating in Asian Readathon run by with Cindy. Wait, I don't know if translated title is a prompt this year. I forgot. Shit, I forgot the prompts. I'm sorry. I don't know if it's a prompt this year, but if you can, try to incorporate more translated works into your reading library. Not just your library, but like actually read them. Personal goal I made for myself this year is to try to read at least 4 translated titles, so this is one of them. And then I'm also reading one by Helen Thurston. Unrelated, I'm sorry, I got off topic again. I'm not going to give you the synopsis for this book because I'm going to try to go in blind as possible so that you can experience what I experienced with absolutely no warning, except if you want the trigger warnings, I'm about to give them to you. But if you don't want them, skip to this timestamp and I will be done talking about the trigger warnings if you want to go in completely unaware as to what I'm about to tell you. There is 0 sex whatsoever in this book. In fact, there is really no physical intimacy at all. So no, you won't have any sex scenes to fast forward in this review. You're welcome for once. I didn't pick out the lines with the absolute worst words in them because there weren't any. Alright, trigger warning 4. Domestic abuse, off-page death of a child, but described years later and through like a newspaper article, so it's not graphic or anything. Child abandonment, adoption, off-page potential murder of an adult, but it's not really clear. On-page drinking, suicidal ideation, repressed memories, having an incestuous romantic feelings for someone that you are related to, well, they are related to, but there is no physical interaction, no romantic interaction of an incestuous nature that is on page. If I worded that wrong, I'm sorry, but what I mean is there are 2 people in this book who are related, who have feelings for each other, but there is no like intimate contact between them, like definitely not sexually. There's no kissing, there's nothing, okay? It's just feelings. So I want to be completely clear. However, if you still cannot hear about any sort of like incestuous feelings, totally understandable. This is your trigger warning here. So with that out of the way, let me tell you what happened in this absolutely bonkers book and why my jaw was on the floor multiple times. Because again, I went into this book, you open chapter 1 and you're like, oh, these 2 people, Hiro and Aki, are our main characters. Hiro and Aki, they've been together, I don't know how long. They've been together a while. They're splitting up. This is their final night together. They're packing up. They're, they're basically having one more night out of living out of suitcases, and then they're separating in the morning to go their separate ways. And then you end the first chapter and you're like, what do you mean? Okay, I am back to finish filming this. We open, our main characters are Hiro and Aki. They live together. They're having their last night together in their apartment. It's mostly cleaned out. They have some stuff that they need to take care of. They're like, living out of suitcases. They have plans to separate after they have like a final night together, talk things out, and then they're leaving. Or so I thought. I mean, that is technically what happened, but like, it's so much more. Of this, Hiro, it alternates between Hiro and Aki's POV. And of this, Hiro in the first chapter says, I serve myself a helping of noodle salad and take stock of the situation. It's like a game of musical chairs, and we're in the process of circling to see who gets to sit on the last remaining chair. In our case, though, winning that chair won't result in any prize. If anything, we both want to be the last one standing and are each trying to provoke the other into sitting down. My god, it's like my parents. And then the chapter ends after like setting us up that, this is a couple that is not getting along and they're separating, saying, end of chapter 1, okay, she has to confess. I have to make her do that tonight. The store lights come into view. Can I do it? At some point during this night, or will I be able to get her say with her own lips that she killed that man? What man? Killed who? Who died? What are you talking about?
No. Wait.
Chapter 2, Aki. It's been like this since it happened. Me suspecting him of having a hand in that man's death. At first, it was simply a vague unease, but over time, my suspicions have grown, and now I'm close to being convinced, so much so that I can almost see the moment he killed him. Wait, so neither of you killed the guy? You both think that each other killed the guy? What do you mean? But I have no intention of reporting him. The man is dead, and officially, it was deemed an accidental death. My intention is not to rake up the past so it turns into a criminal case. All I desperately need to know, is what he was thinking. I need to know what both of you are thinking. What is happening? And she starts talking about how he's making her more and more fearful as time goes on. And this made sense at the time because it's like, okay, she thinks that he killed somebody. And then you find out that it's like more than that. The reason I keep talking about going to Vietnam, even though I'm not, is so that he will think twice about doing anything if he believes my friends will raise the alarm when I don't turn up to meet them. I want to live even after we're apart. I want to see what life is like without him, and I can't stand the thought of him tying up loose ends by disposing of me and going off to start a life with that new girl. He sent a man to his death, and tonight he will kill me. When I'm dead and buried and my bones are turning to dust, he will still be living with that girl and the world will go on. Wait. Why do you think he's going to kill you too? Because he thinks that you killed that guy, so why do you think that he's going to kill you? Chapter 3, back in Hero's POV, it says, ever since the trip, smoking became my excuse to get out of the apartment after that. The amount of time I was spending in the playground skyrocketed along with my cigarette consumption. It was to get away from her. I see that now. Listen. What is it with men living in apartment complexes going and smoking at playgrounds? Because where I used to live in the apartment complex, dudes were doing that and they were leaving full bottles of liquor on the playground. What is up with men? What is up with men? And then they have this conversation about this song by Yumi Matsutoya, and it's a song about how she leaves an earring underneath the bed of her ex-lover. And this gives Aki the idea to leave an earring in Hiro's purse so that it's like he always has something with her, and it's also evidence in case he kills her. It's very similar to like their situation, and she's talking about lines in the song. She's like, the line that goes, you'll probably realize after you move in with that pretty girl. There's also a line that says, some things are no use if the other half is lost. That means there's no point in keeping one earring when the other is lost, doesn't it? And I was like, what is the purpose of this whole conversation? And then by the end it felt very relevant, and I was like, oh, this is a very smart author, but oh. So they discuss this song, and he is talking about it, and she says, you're surprisingly romantic. You can live with someone for years and still not know things about them, which felt like such a dig. Like, how are you going to tell your romantic partner that you don't find them romantic? You're just learning about that right when you're about to split up. Okay. So in Aki's POV in chapter 4, it says, it's only half true that I lost one of my favorite earrings. The other is in the leather sling bag that he keeps for casual use. He has it with him now. I stare at the worn amber-colored bag at his side. It reminds me of a small animal at rest. That's where my earring is, deep in the corner of the outside pocket. And I'm like, damn, y'all are really like setting each other up, and you both think you killed that guy. And I'm like, when are they gonna talk about how somebody killed some guy? Who's the guy and who killed him? If it was neither of you, who did it? What is happening? Suddenly the conversation pivots, and it says, that day the knife wasn't where I usually kept it. Somebody must have taken it from my backpack before we left and then returned it to the same place later. I swear to it. And Aki's like, I don't believe a word of this shit. And I'm like, I don't know what to believe. What knife? What knife? Chapter 5, back in Hero's POV. I stare at the folding knife in my hands. Her face can only be described as pale. The knife, I'd completely forgotten it. Yes, I would venture to say that you did forget about it, because this is the first time hearing about it. Aki shakes her head emphatically. It wasn't me. Hero says, think about it. Who else could it be besides you? We hardly saw anybody. So now he's thinking, not only did she kill that guy, but she killed that guy with my knife. She lifts her head and looks at me. He might have noticed. And Hiro said, noticed what? And I'm like, yes, Aki, noticed what? What now? About us. I see a sober glint in her eyes that chills me. No way. He couldn't. Did you pick up on anything? Aki says, no, nothing. Hiro, exactly. It's impossible. What's impossible, you're wondering? I don't know what triggered it. Maybe because we were so keen to see the photo of his baby, but he was suspicious. That's why he stole your knife. It has to be. He must have noticed something when you were using it. When do you steal somebody else's possessions? When you want to know more about that person. That's when. Chapter 6 in Aki's POV. The guide must have noticed your name engraved on it, Hiro, and he stole it so he could confirm something. Hiro says there's no proof. No proof it was him. No proof the knife was taken at all. Despite this protestation, his pale face betrays him. For one thing, he himself just said that the knife was missing at the time. Maybe he's noticed the contradiction, as now he is staring vacantly at a spot on the tatami. So, I bet you're wondering what's happening. Nothing good, that's for sure. I certainly was confused at this point, and the answers we got, oh boy! We used to go to Way together, just the two of us. It was a way of making up for the blanks in our past. Wherever we went, we had a good time and we enjoyed each other's company. It was refreshing. I'm not sure where the idea came from to change our given names on the reservation. There were a number of guides, and the chances were low that we would be assigned to that man. We set out on a trip wondering which straw we had drawn. Oh God. Even if he did happen to be our guide, we didn't want him to be aware of our true identities. That was something we had talked about beforehand. To anyone meeting us for the first time, we looked like an ordinary couple. They're not. She asks, who on earth killed him? Or should I say, why did he die? And Hiro looks at her and says, Didn't you do it, Aki? I look him in the eye. There is a charged silence. Who drove that man to his death? A man we met for the first time on that trip. Our father.
No, 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 no. Wait, 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 wait. Wait, wait, wait.
Oh no! Chapter 7. Chihiro Takahashi and Chiaki Fujimoto. These are our names. Takahashi is our mother's maiden name. We were raised together until the age of 3. Then Chiaki's surname changed when she went to another family. No! Jaw. Floor. Instantly. Mom never said much about it. I would say not. Nobody's talking much. Nobody. She came from a poor background and suffered from health problems after we were born though, so apparently she had no choice but to give up Aki. To be honest, it hardly seems real that I once had a sister. Though when I think about it, I do have a feeling there was another kid in the house when I was little, but I grew up as an only child, and by the time I had any awareness of the world, I'd come to believe it must have been one of the kids from the neighborhood. Chiaki was the same. She'd also believed she was an only child. As to why my mother gave up one child for adoption, well, it seems that her feelings on the subject are complicated. She rarely mentions it, but did once let it slip that she wanted to bring up both of us herself and shouldn't have given Chiaki away no matter how tough things were. So it's clear to me that she always regretted it. There was something else that troubled her, which I didn't find out about until I was 20, and that was that our father didn't know about our existence. I was in university at the time when I heard all this from Mom. By then I had already met Chiaki. Imagine you've striked up a relationship with someone and your mom's like, that's your sister. This actually would never happen to me because I look like my siblings. We all look very similar. I would meet them and go, there is no way that we are not related. There is no way. There is no way. I'm gonna need you to hop on Ancestry.com right now and run some DNA. Because ain't no way that we are not related. That is my nose on your face. Aki says, I was convinced that you did it, Hiro. This is a surprise. Me? Why? She pauses. Let me see. Allow me to correct myself. To be accurate, what I hoped for, in fact, was that you did it. And he's like, yeah, I was hoping the same. I hoped you did it too. It might have been an accident. She sounds resigned. A mountain guide slipping and falling to his death. That's all. Only this guide happened to be our father. Pure coincidence, along with the fact that we happened to be there. Maybe we were simply trying to force an interpretation of murder onto something which isn't that. I don't know. Oh boy. I thought you killed him, Hiro, she says, to give us something that would bind us together forever, something we could never escape from. And he says, we're brother and sister, so we're already connected forever, aren't we? And she laughs and says, oh yes, we're brother and sister, aren't we? And he admits, and this is like, because it's introspective and written in verse, it does, like, it has, you know, people thinking and saying, like, the most awful things that a human can think, like, inwardly. You know, our inside thoughts, our thoughts that we say, like, wow, that's fucked up, self, you need to not think that thing. That's what's happening. She's right. I want something to tie her with. Something so powerful it can never be broken as long as we live. No, you don't want that. That's an inside thought that should have stayed locked away in the back. Whatever happens, there is no escape. What is sin? Is it wrong to fall in love with somebody? I cannot lie to myself. Until we became aware of our kinship, we were in love. That's your sister. That's your sister. So chapter 8 in Aki's POV, it was a seemingly impossible coincidence that we should have both gone to the same university and joined the same club. Naturally, we were non-identical twins since we were male and female, but despite not being genetically identical, our characters and dispositions were very similar. So too were our academic results, hobbies, and subjects in high school, and we were probably drawn to the same university because people with similar traits tend to do similar things. I remember reading about this. I remember reading about like long lost twins who have like the exact same mannerisms despite never meeting each other, which is very fascinating. They are twins, by the way. Our tennis group was a social club. That's where they met. They played so well together. So then they go back to talking about their father. The dead guy, their father. Say he did know about us. When did he find out? Says Hiro, speaking as if to himself as he stares at a point on the tatami, not looking at me. I know Mom never told him. I reach for the green tea, open the bottle and pour some in my cup. That's the question, isn't it? He told us that he'd had his first child late in life. It didn't sound like he knew about any children with his first wife. But he would know from seeing your knife at least that you weren't using your real name, and from that he might have concluded that you were only hiding your real name because you were his own child. This is where the book starts to kind of go off the rails, and that's because these people are starting to, it's getting late into the night, and then they start drinking, and then it just descends into, you know, when you're up way too late and you're a teenager and you've been drinking and you're at a friend's house that doesn't have a very responsible parent, if the parent is even home, and you guys just get into some shit. You might even leave the house, do some, you know, property damage. Is this just me I'm talking about? God, I hope not. This is like that, but with adults who are living together, who are brother and sister, who have romantic feelings for each other. Does that make sense? Okay. Chapter 9 in Hiro's POV. Aki and I had got ourselves trapped in a situation we couldn't get out proud of. The fact that we pursued it ourselves didn't make it any less painful. Woof! It wasn't like that at first. In the beginning, we could say, honestly, to anyone and everyone that we were attempting to reclaim the family time we'd been denied. We had every right to live together as brother and sister and talk to each other about anything and everything. We might have even overdone it a bit with the drama of our story. Gradually, though, things began to go awry. You don't say! Oh no! This weird kind of tension developed between us. Neither of us really understood why. Had we simply become used to each other? The truth came crashing down at me at last. Takashiro had read the situation correctly. What Aki and I had was not familial love. Might have wanted to believe that, but the truth was we were in the grip of romantic love, and now she was looking at me with those eyes, and I realized that I too was looking at her as a man. From then on, our life gradually became a living hell. So what had happened was, and it says this in chapter 10 in Aki's POV, is that she would be out with her boyfriend Takashiro, and she would be like thinking about her brother and be like, oh, I need to go to that shop and buy that stuff for Hiro, and her boyfriend would be like, you are obsessed with your brother. You're in love with him. And she said, it's not like that. We're brother and sister. No, you're not. He snapped. The only ones who believe that, or should I say try to convince themselves of that, are the pair of you. And her boyfriend had asked her, you know, I'm being sent to Hakata for work. I would like you to come with me. Leave the apartment that you're living with your brother and come with me to Hakata. And she goes home and she cries to Hiro, and like they look at each other and like it's understood between them that this is more than siblinghood. Nothing happens other than, you know, looking, just saying. Chapter 11 in Hiro's POV. Our guide was standing a short distance off looking relaxed when suddenly he turned to us and said, you two said you met at the university tennis club, didn't you? As if he just remembered. Then his phone rang and I was struck by the ringtone. It was my grandfather's clock, which had recently become a hit after a popular young male singer had done a cover version. And so they have this conversation with their guide about a clock that Hiro's mom had in her house, and recalling that now, Hiro's like, the wall clock, how could I have been such an idiot? I was blabbing on to him about the clock in the house where mom grew up, the mom that he was married to, not related to, wrong couple. And he's like, you know, Aki, mom's clock. And she's like, the clock? What clock? And this is where you're like, oh, something else is going on here. It is. And he's like, don't you remember the big clock in the corner of the passageway? And she's like, the wall clock? I have no memory of this beaver. No, wrong movie. I have no memory of that from anywhere in my childhood. And so in Aki's POV in the next chapter it says, thinking back, I felt uncertain about the past for a very long time. Oh no, now what? Thinking back, I felt uncertain about the past for a very long time since I was adopted. I had no way of confirming it with my parents, however, so I kept my thoughts to myself whenever Hiro spoke of such things. If I'm being honest, I hardly remember anything from childhood. You always seem to remember everything so clearly that I was embarrassed to say otherwise, so I kept agreeing with you. Oh no. Oh no. Back in Hiro's POV in chapter 13, he says, when that guy died, I was away, and I remember seeing you and you were tying bits of grass together. And she says, what? He says, you were in the long grass, the edge of the cliff, tying up the stalks. I saw you do it. The guide had suggested, should we take a break? Aki and Hiro were like, a break? That's weird. There's a great spot nearby. That's what he said. We assumed it meant there wasn't anywhere suitable to rest further on, so that's why we were stopping early. Even so, was it my imagination, or did his announcement seem a bit too abrupt? Too much like an excuse? Like, why did the guide, what prompted him to suddenly want to take a break? What happened? Well, after a while they couldn't find the guide, and Hiro says, at some point I wandered over to the cliff edge near where Aki had been sitting tying up stalks of grass and acting weird, and it says, I stood at the edge and gingerly looked below. He was down there. So the guide was dead. In chapter 14, in Aki's POV, there was something the guide wanted to do, so he maneuvered us into taking another break. He deliberately took us to that spot, left us there, then went off somewhere and came back. Why on earth would he do that? And Hiro's like, to go to the toilet, to make a phone call. But when I think about the way he was acting at the time, I get the feeling he had another purpose, like to check on something. What could he check up on in a place like that? I don't know, but I have the feeling he went off in a hurry to find out something he didn't want us to see him doing it. So Aki's like, okay, let me get this straight. The guide saw your knife, realized that you were using a false name because your real name is on your knife. Next, you talked about the wall clock. He becomes suspicious that we, or at least you, are the child of his former wife. Is that what you're saying? Yeah, that's right. I was the only one he was suspicious of. It probably never occurred to him that we were both his children. You're up a mountain in the middle of nowhere. How would you go about checking whether the person you're with is your son without letting on to the other people in your group know what's going on? Would that even be possible? And Aki thinks, all right, I do remember some things. I remember the way the grass was disturbed next to the cliff where the guide fell. I feel sure that I had been squatting there. I hadn't seen him, but if I was sitting there doing weird stuff, then maybe it is possible I killed that man. And Aki's like, wait, you sneaked off to smoke cigarettes, didn't you? So maybe the guide knew that you were smoking cigarettes, because you didn't think I know, but you were smoking cigarettes. Maybe the guide went to sneak back to the last place you smoked a cigarette and steal your old cigarette butt so that he could DNA test it and see if you are his son. This is not just where it goes off the rails like on purpose, but where it starts to feel like we didn't really tie things up neatly at the end. In Hiro's POV it says, never in his wildest dreams would it have occurred to him that we are both his children. It was only me he suspected. And if I hadn't raised his suspicions with the talk of the knife and the clock, he might still be alive now, happily cuddling his baby. Aki says to him, it was an accident, you know. After all, he was the one who slipped. He was careless. That's what happened. I can't tell if she says this for my benefit or hers, but if it was meant in constellation, it fails miserably. And she says to him, when we leave here tomorrow, we'll forget about it. It'll be okay. Humans can forget anything, can't they? No matter how awful. The lump of despair in my throat turns to guilt. I feel ridden with it. She chose me over Takashiro. I took that as my due and satisfied my ego, but after the sense of victory wore off, I began to resent her for it because I was about to run off to be with someone else.
No. Wait. Wait.
Oh my goodness, you guys are so toxic. And then it gets worse. I have a bad feeling, a hunch you might say, that I'm going to hurt Misako, his girlfriend, his new like lady love that he's moving in with, that I'm going to hurt Misako in the future. The ugly side of me she doesn't know yet will probably hurt her badly, make her cry, and her life will end up ruined.
No.
Oh boy. They're really like descending into it's way too late and they've been drinking. And she says, the truth is, I don't know why that man died, but our appearance on the scene surely had something to do with it. And Hiro thinks, we are responsible for his death. We are accomplices who share some guilt for the crime. Forevermore. That makes me happy in a way. Are you angry? Do you think I'm mad? I wouldn't blame you if you did, but I'm still happy. It's the kind of terrible secret I could never tell a soul, but I could share with you. A thrill goes through me along with a familiar heady feeling at this revelation, satisfying a base feeling of pride. She still thinks about me. Ew, you're so toxic. If I died here now, or maybe before we said goodbye tomorrow morning, or even after that, would you remember me forever? Do I have the power, I wonder, to keep a hold over you forever, Hiro? Oh no. And he says, don't be ridiculous. And he looks for his knife and can't find it. And it turns out that she has it.
Wait.
So this is really where it starts to get like weird. I thought that they were about to have a fight and that one of them was going to stab the other. That's not what happens. My taking his knife and slipping it into my pocket has no particular significance. It might have been because I didn't like it lying around and he didn't seem inclined to put it away at any time soon, combined with the vague yearning I had to hold that compact yet delicate instrument in my hand once more. You start to see like how awful of a person Hiro really is. In chapter 17 it says, the real me feels no guilt or self-disgust. I don't feel a thing. That's right, nothing, I think. Deep down, I probably don't even feel guilty about the possibility that I might have driven that man to his death. I was just shocked is all. He brings up that he had gone to see his mom, and it says that his mom is really like standoffish about Chiaki, doesn't really want to see her, and even though his mom is sick, says, don't tell her about me being sick. I did the wrong thing with you two. I never imagined you two would meet up by accident. That girl must be, and then she doesn't continue talking. You'll notice that Chiaki doesn't have any memories of them growing up together. The memories that Hiro had of Chiaki were kind of wishy-washy. He remembers a kid with like squeaky shoes. You know, it's kind of alluded to that like something is amiss here. The mom not wanting anything to do with Chiaki. So what ends up happening is that Chiaki remembers because of the hum of a fan and the hum of like the flies near where she was sitting when that guy died. She like has this memory, these like memories resurface to her. She doesn't remember Hiro because they maybe played together, but they did not grow up together. And I know you're confused now, and I was too. She also starts having memories of them bearing something and then realizes that the thing that they're bearing is another child. And this happened when they were children themselves. She looks up a newspaper article and realizes that a child died. Your mother and my mother were both in difficult situations and both had young children, so your mother decided to adopt out her daughter because she was in a bad position, health-wise and financially. She is choosing her words with care. Your mother, my mother. We were born of different mothers who were sisters. I expect she had already made the decision to adopt Chiaki out when the accident happened. Maybe she had received money or some other kind of compensation from the adopted parents, but then Chiaki, Hiro's sister, went out to play and never came back. Somehow, she managed to get into the nearby construction site. She fell down in a pit. It was a tragic accident that nobody could have foreseen. I don't know why they would remember burying her if she just died by accident. That really wasn't explained. This is one of the reasons I gave this a 3.5. Mother wouldn't have known what to do. She had already taken the money, and it was very likely she was having difficulty making ends meet. To have to announce that she couldn't give her daughter up for adoption anymore would have been a great blow. She talks it over with her sister, the sister whose husband is dead and is even in a worse financial situation. The sister has a daughter she can't care for by herself because the sister is ill and bedridden. She relies on the kindness of neighbors to watch her daughter all the time. And the humming that Chiaki remembers from childhood is from a fan because she was always hanging out in a dry cleaners. One of the ladies who would babysit her was a dry cleaners. They had a fan constantly running. The two of them come to a decision. They will send Miyuki Takahashi off for adoption in place of Chiaki, who died. So in reality, Hiro's sister died and she was supposed to be given up for adoption, but Hiro's cousin, Chiaki, the real Chiaki and Hiro, their cousin Miyuki is Chiaki present day because Miyuki got passed off as the dead Chiaki and got taken out for adoption. I don't know what story they cooked up between them to cover the truth. Chiaki's name would have been on the search request. The lady who helped look after Miyuki might have helped them, but somehow they were able to make it look like Miyuki was the missing child, not Chiaki. Maybe they said that both girls went missing together and only Chiaki was found. And so Miyuki Takahashi becomes Chiaki Takahashi, is adopted out, and finally becomes Chiaki Fujimoto. A deep silence falls over us. The thread is broken. There is nothing left to repair it with, nor do either of us want to. It explains everything, doesn't it? Why I don't remember you as a child. I don't remember the clock. The daydream I had in the mountains was triggered by a sound like that of the electric fan in the room above the dry cleaners. The sound of insect wings sounded like the fan. You came over to play sometimes. That's the limit of my memories of you, but the memories of the sounds from daily life have always been there deep inside of me. We're cousins, not twins. All I can think of is that TikTok song about not dating your cousin.
If they're in the family tree, you should always leave them be. But dating apps suck and my town's kind of small, so please go outside, not across the hall. If growing up you went to the same grandma's house, then you better not make them your spouse. You don't get exceptions even if it's distant. Dating your cousin should be non-existent.
She starts laughing hysterically. He tells her to stop. She's crying with laughter now. It's so ridiculous, all that pain and worry, trying to read each other. It was so silly, so pointless. Ha ha ha, we were cousins all along. And he tells her to shut up. She says, why are you angry? That doesn't change the outcome of anything, does it? I was the one acting out a farce, wasn't I, not you? No, you always wanted to stay in the safe zone, didn't you? You tried not to see anything, always looked at me to see what I think first, and then gutlessly wriggling your way out of things. You never could have worked out that we were cousins. I'm the one with the right to be angry, not you. And then he slaps her and she falls to the floor. At this point I'm thinking, oh, he's really gonna kill her now. And so is she. Chapter 22, it starts and she's thinking, oh, he's gonna kill me, and is surprised that he doesn't. And frankly, so was I. We are cousins. The words stick in my brain. They will not go away. If we are cousins, then we can marry. No! Nope! No. Bad idea.
If they're in the family tree, you should always leave them be.
You two should not be together with anybody, but definitely not each other. You guys need to work things out with yourselves separately. It wasn't so long ago that arranged matches between cousins were common in Japan. I even know someone at work who married your cousin. No, ma'am.
You don't get exceptions even if it's distant. Dating your cousin should be non-existent.
Why were we attracted to each other? Maybe blood ties did count for something. Ugh. No, ma'am.
No.
I flick my eyes over him. There sits the man who I spent the golden days of my youth and shared a mutual attraction. He sits slumped over on his knees and his face distorted by loathing, and an awful thought takes shape. I am rapidly losing interest in him. I think my feelings began to cool when I realized that he was only a cousin and nothing stood in our way anymore. They don't talk about the fact that he slapped her, but they do talk, and she's like, I think I know why your dad died. I think I figured it out. I think that he knew all along that at least you were his son. I think that he called his wife about it. She meant to meet him down at the bottom. He slipped and fell. I think that that's it. At the bottom of the mountain. I think that he saw her down there, and maybe he waved and he slipped and fell and died. That is the least satisfying answer I could have thought of. That was really disappointing. That was why this book, it's not like this book was like perfectly written. It's not like the best book I've ever read, but just the sheer fact that my jaw was on the floor so many times and I didn't see so much of it coming, I gave it like a 4. But then like the fact that I felt I was was really confused by the child dying and like why would they bury the child, and then it wasn't that they murdered the child, and then the hero's father, it never really being explained like how he died was not satisfying, but it's only speculation on Chiaki's part. And I guess you could choose your own ending. Like maybe they've been lying this whole time. It's unreliable narrator and one of them killed him. Or they both did and they forgot. Maybe the sister never actually died and she killed the father. Who knows? They then discuss possibly dying by suicide jointly. Hiro like seems like really into the idea, and Chiaki like I feel like was sort of like testing him to see if he was into it. And she says like, I've done this before where I've been like, you know, stringing a guy along and I'm not actually interested in him. And I was like, oh my gosh, you guys are such bad people! I am here now because of a little girl died falling into a pit on a construction site, and Hiro is here because he was given life by the man who fell off a cliff and the woman in hospital whose life is ebbing away. We were so wrapped up in our own hypocrisy and arrogance, we might just have managed to pull off killing ourselves simply to justify the consummation of a forbidden love. The truth is, however, we don't love each other. Maybe it was merely self-love that we saw reflected in each other, but if we had succeeded in borrowing the power of the night, we might have been able to make it real. Temptation, this was the temptation, to imagine it, not to carry it out. In real life, things rarely finish dramatically. Most of the time, a vague and inconclusive ending awaits us. Will tonight be any different? I curl my fingers around the knife in my pocket, and I'm thinking, oh, she's gonna kill him, and then she doesn't. In Hiro's POV, he imagines himself sitting back on the hike with their dad, because the whole thing was like their dad was a hiker, and he would take like guided tours of hikes. He imagines them all being back together. Chiaki's POV, she also imagines this. I cannot tell if this is a dream or fantasy, but in it we are a family, finally together after many years, smiling, laughing, chatting, to fill in the long blank. We never dreamed you'd actually be our guide. Well, we might have secretly hoped, but there are lots of mountain guides. Actually, I had a feeling it might happen, so what do you think? Are we what you expected? No, I didn't know what to expect, especially since you arrived looking so grown up. Our reunion was a complete coincidence too. We both joined the tennis team at university. We were paired for doubles. He doesn't seem like a stranger at all, but it was a big surprise to find out that we had a little brother much younger than us. If you'd like, drop by home. You can meet him. Really? That would be lovely. Oh my god. The dappled sunlight is beautiful. It's like being at the bottom of the sea here. I wonder if this is how fish feel when they look up at the surface. They stare in silence at the unreachable light, at a future that will never arrive. I think that that's really pretty. I also think the next line is really pretty. Already the process of painting over memories has begun. These three people are the family whose reunion I pictured, who were trekking in the mountains to renew family ties and fill in the blanks of time. She calls her ex and says, by the way, I think I did love my brother. Sorry about that. Once again, I feel that I had seen dappled sunlight through the trees somewhere. It was in the mountains, and the three of us were gazing up at the bright sunlight coming through the trees. No, it wasn't. It was now, and the three of us are looking up at that window, seeing a time that ought to have existed and been happy. She's, looking at their place from outside. She's looking at the windows and, contemplating on what was lost and what happened. She buries his knife outside. I will bury the knife here, bury it deep in the earth, and then slip away without telling anyone what I have done. I don't know. I still think one of them killed the guy. That was the most bonkers ass reading experience. But going back to like the pearl earring song that they were contemplating on, it says, some things are no use if the other half is lost. That means there's no point in keeping one earring when the other is lost, doesn't it? And I think Hiro sort of felt that way about like them as a couple, not just like earrings as a pair, but the two of them as a pair. So I'm sure that like commentary was being made there about how they, once separated are meaningless. It's just so bonkers. It's just such a bonkers book. I just don't even know what to say. But I mean, it was good. Like I had a good time reading it. I just felt like the ending was pretty unsatisfying with the questions I still had. But that like descent into it's way too late. We're getting way too drunk. There's too much history here. We don't trust each other, and both of us can be a little volatile. Yeah, it was bonkers. The way that it ended was, that's sort of how those nights that you have, especially in high school, feel. But these are whole adults who knew that they were related, so yikes. However, fascinating concept for a book. I had no idea where this was going at any point. I had a good time reading it. My jaw was on the floor multiple times. At no point could I have guessed where this was going to go. And honestly, that's good writing. I gave it a 3.5. I would recommend it if you like psychological thrillers, but I just told you everything that happens, so it's not really like you're gonna be spoiled. But if you'd like to experience it on your own, I would recommend the book if you like psychological thrillers. Alright, thank you to Choco again for recommending this, for commissioning it. I am going to be reading more from this author, so that's exciting. and I will see you for the next one. Leave your comments and questions down below. If you made it to the end of the video, feel free to leave the, I don't know, twin emoji down below. Is that kind of gross? I guess we'll just do dark humor today. Okay? Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.
Hello! Before I go, I have to say thank you for being a friend to my Therapy Bills patrons, and those are Alexander, Brittany Bobitney, Cami, Choco's Trash for Japanese Mysteries and Thrillers, Chris the Horror Therapist, Dalton, DJ Rocktopus, Ellie, Emerald Dodge, Emperor's New Blues, Aaron with 2 E's, Eric, Ethel Go Lightly, Galaxy Bot, Jack, Jess, John E, Julie D, Kalei No K, Casey McKenzie, Kate W, Caitlin M, Lady Kittybug, Lemon Jelly, Lex, Lily B, Max B, Mommy Zami, Mixer Boneless, Alice, Panoramic Demon, oof, Peggy Lou, Rachel C, Rain, Reese, SJ, Samar, Scarlet, Shiny, SMK, Spoopy, Steph B, 2 Orbit, White Raven, Zorvictia, and Chai Guy. Thank you all so much for being here and for being a friend. And last but not least, I also have to say thank you for being a friend to my Potato Starch Marxist patrons, and those are Alejandra, Amanda D, Amanda, Andy, Angelica, Anita, Artie the Ninth, Ava, Ballads and Bookends, Beck, Blake Lemon Pants, Blythe, Bookish Bats, Bookish Brainrot, Bree, Caitlin, Cardinal Ginger, Carlin, Casper, Kate W, Catherine, Kathy, Chris, CJ, Clementine, Cole, Colleen, Corwin, Cosmic, Darius, Danielle, Darren, Desiree, Diet Goth, Dilf Enthusiast, Dorian, Dorothea, Ebby, Emily A, Emily L, Emma, Emma O.A, Aaron, Ezra, Fiona, Gadarn, Hannah C, Harpy Kuro, Haley G, Ilianaka, India Inks, JM Tennant, Jay is on Olympus, Jelly V, Jen Michelle, Genderqueer, Jenny G, Jessa Sue, Jill, Jillian, Jojo Bookish, Kat, Catherine, Katie, Kaylee, Kayala, Kendra, Kiara, KMTB, Laughing Cat Dog, Laura, Lauren, Lazarus Ray, Library of Scars, Lindsay M, Lisa B, Lisa L, LP, Lou Siri, Lustful Octopus, Martin, Madison, Man-Eating Plant, Marcella, Marquita, Melara, Mentally Unwell, May, Molly, James, Natalie, Never, Nicole G, Nicole R, Nyan Binary, Paige P, Penny Chilling, Foxglove, Rachel B, Reba, Rebecca, Rebecca R, Rivi, Ronnie, Rosie, Rowan, Secoria, Sadie, Saintbringer, Sakia Lume, Samantha, Sammy C, Sarah H, Sarah the Bear, Sarah Z, Shamed, Shannon, Sheen Onion, Sean, Super Evil Sam, T Delegati, Tay, Talia, 3 Old Dogs, Tiana, Trash Can Teddy, Triple M, Tito Phoenix, and Writer A. Thank you all so much for being a friend.